We are living in the midst of the storm, really. I've done this teaching for many years about how to live at the eye of the storm so that you can cultivate this depth and presence of who you really are. And even though these different storms of your life will come along, you can kind of stay in that quiet presence, that quiet sense of depth, and meet the moment from there, instead of getting so caught in the chaos and the maelstrom, because this is a pretty decent storm. This isn't just a little storm. And I also think because the intensity of this moment is happening collectively, like a lot of times when we experience the storms in our life, it's our personal storm. Like you might be going through a breakup or an illness, or the illness or difficulty with a loved one. And it's a little different right now because everybody's in it together, and literally everybody is in it together. So I think it's a wild time for each one of us personally. It's a wild time to be on the spiritual path and to be seeking something deeper, kind of deeper meaning through the experiences that you have in your life. And also, it's just a wild time on the planet. It's blowing my mind a little bit how much stress and chaos is happening. But also, I think stretching all of you, I'm sure, kind of stretching all of us into what is our capacity. How can we consume this anxiety and fear and chaos and use it as fuel for transformation? Sometimes we get given rocket fuel, and this is certainly one of those times where it's like, okay, this is, it's very intense. And I think we're all being asked at this time to use these tools of consciousness in order to facilitate more well-being and health and safety for all the people that we love. I've heard a lot of different things about social distancing, and I'm a huge fan right now. I think it's one of the ways that we take care of each other. I'm a big believer in building community and having people that you love and connect with. And, we have a whole ashram, and we're a spiritual community. That's kind of the foundation of Kashi Atlanta. And so to say now we kind of have to separate. We have to remove ourselves from each other a little bit. I actually think one of the challenges of that is, how do you create more connection during a time where social distancing is the prescription? And it is. I don't think it's cool to be cavalier about it. I think it's on each one of us because it's not just for us, the social distancing, you say, well, I'm staying at home because I care about, the most vulnerable in our community, whether it's elderly people or cancer survivors or people living with AIDS or just different immune compromises, those kind of things. And so I think it's a time where we're being called on to think more globally instead of personally, right? It's not just about us, which I think is often a challenging, it can stretch us to think not just beyond what's best for us, but what's best for our community. And that part I think is good, In something like this, I think, we're in a real health crisis. But it's also a time to think, how can we find the silver lining in it and kind of create a space where we take care of ourselves and we learn how to take care of each other in a deeper way, and maybe even in ways that aren't about physical contact so much. We're a bunch of yoga people, so we're huggers and grabbers and stuff like that. And so figuring out how to do that in a way. And I also think that I can't tell you how many people have said that they have been gripped with anxiety and stress and fear. And, I think, okay, well, How do you care about other people in a way that helps you transcend that? You know, one of the things that I know for myself is that if I'm caught in a cycle of the victim mind, or woe is me, or I'm so afraid, and everybody gets caught in that sometimes, it's okay to get caught in it. You know, you have to start with compassion for yourself. It's crazy wild times out there. So to have compassion for yourself, but then to say, what can I do with that energy? You know, because fear and anxiety there's a lot of spinning with that, you know, a lot of kind of spun out energy. And I think those kind of energies, you can pick them up and use them for something. And so I think, how can you reach out to somebody else who might be alone or lonely? Like Rudrapriya, first, congratulations about the good news with the doctor. But second, you know, she's in a neighborhood, and she just reached out on the neighborhood app and wanted to see, was anybody else, you know, nervous about being isolated or alone and need people to shop for them or different kind of things. And it turned into this whole thing where now the neighbors are all helping each other, which I think is super cool. You know, it's like that kind of thing where we start to realize that we have more power in this than we know. And I actually think that's one other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I think the loss of control and the feeling of powerlessness is a really big deal in this. And, you know, you can't control a worldwide pandemic. You can't even expect that of yourself. It's kind of not fair to ask that of you. So you can't control what's happening, but you certainly can control your response to it. And I think that's part of why we do deep contemplative practice. You know, that's why we get on the yoga mat. That's why we get on the meditation cushion. That's why we go out on the streets and serve other people, is because we have to learn how to dance inside the storm. You know, to be able to say, I want to rise up in this and be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And that's going to lead me to one of the questions that we did a deep dive, a weekend immersion this past weekend. And one of the questions that kind of rose up to the surface was the question of, what does your fear do for the world? Like, how does your fear impact the world? And does it just create more fear, right? Are you adding to the suffering of the world by leaning into your fear and anxiety? And please know that's not coming from a space that lacks compassion. I have great compassion for everybody right now. But I think that putting yourself in a more powerful position is helpful, because, I mean, you could ask it. This is one of the things we did this weekend, was to say, you could ask it from a space of saying, well, what does your consciousness contribute to the world? Right? If you rise up and meet this enormous challenge with consciousness, with compassion, with equanimity, and an embrace of humanity, then what does that contribute to the world? And I think those are the kinds of questions that we really want to be asking right now. Instead of spinning out and saying, what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks or the 2 months or the 2 whatever, you know, just kind of going, okay, I can't control that, but I can control how I am in this moment right now. You know, am I dwelling in my inner heart? Can I take a deep breath and just drop into my heart and connect to love again? You know, can I be loving towards myself and towards everybody else in this moment? Can I reach out? You know, I actually think one of the other wild things that's going to happen during this time is, you know, I was one of the most resistant people about social media. I was just, when Facebook started, I was like, oh my God, not more time on the computer. I don't want to. And now, of course, I'm on Instagram. Somehow, Tara Devi talked me into being on Instagram, and then she taught me how. And then we challenged each other to do 108 days in a row. And now I get it. You know, I get that it's a way to help people and touch people. At least for me, that's how I view it. It's another format or platform for that. And so, I'm putting a lot of meditations and breaths and practices on my Instagram account right now. So hopefully that's going to help people. But we're going to keep posting more things because I just think it's a time for really deep practice. And for people that have done, I'm in my 40 plus year of deep practice. And so I task myself with helping people figure out how to do that. And I, one of the things that I never think is okay is to just tell people, well, you have to meditate. I think that is so not nice because meditation, I was doing an interview on CNN one time and the interviewer asked me, well, is meditation hard? And I said, no, it's not hard to learn. It's just hard to do. It's not actually hard to learn how to meditate. It's hard to practice meditation. And anything you want, any kind of mastery at, you have to practice. You don't just become a concert pianist overnight. You have to put in the time running the scales. And so that's what meditation is like. For times of crisis and chaos, you have to learn, you have to do the practices to train your mind to come back to oneness, to come back to peace, to come back to calmness, so that when it gets very difficult, you can rise up and meet that moment. And so, of course, we're going to do some practice together tonight. We're going to do some breath practice, and Hari Priya and Devaki are on. Thank you. I just want to do a couple shout outs to people. We've got people kind of calling in from all over the world, really. One of our guys is in Australia right now, kind of stuck in Australia. And Lamarad, are you still in India? Are you stuck in India? I don't know. I've got kids all over the place. But I just want to say that I've got you all covered. We all have to just bond together during this, and it's going to make me do more social media kind of stuff, which I'm kind of camera shy person, but I got to get over myself. So anyway, practicing together I think is so much easier than just telling yourself you have to meditate on your own. And you do have to meditate on your own, but you have to, I think, learning it in a setting where you're guided some, where you're not just at the mercy of your restless thoughts, because that's what everybody experiences when they first try to meditate, is they become, kind of at the mercy of the constant barrage of thoughts going through your mind. And so learning how to come back to quietude and wholeness, that's part of the practices. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so tonight I think we're going to do some breathing practice. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how to use this time, especially if we continue to move towards better and better practices of social distancing, which I actually think we need to. I think you need to be mindful of, going out when it's necessary, but any kind of unnecessary bopping around, you need to be really present about that and make that decision from a place where you understand the more exposure is the problem right now. It really is the problem, that the more people can kind of come in and stay quiet and centered in themselves and in their own homes, the quicker we're going to get through this. And, there's some yogic teachings around that. In the 8-limb path, there's a practice called pratyahara, and they liken it to a turtle pulling into its shell. And it's one of the practices of how do you learn to meditate? How do you begin to master meditation? And part of it is to be able to come into yourself and rest well there. And be comfortable in your own skin. Start to get comfortable. Do enough of your own inner work that when you get quiet within yourself, you're okay with what's happening there. And that takes some deep work and some deep presence. And so that ability to get quiet and also get compassionate in the quiet, that sometimes being quiet is difficult and people resist it or want to fill it up immediately. But I think that this is a time when being internal and getting quiet could really help heal us as a people and as a society. That if we can come to terms with slowing down and going in, that will facilitate greater well-being and peace of mind in our society as a whole. And so I just encourage everybody to not freak out so much about being internal or being quieter. I think it could be kind of a powerful practice, and one that, again, you do it for. It's like doing it in a selfless way. Selfless service is another one of the traditions in yoga, is to say, I want to. I just heard from my Lama. You're back in Boston or in Atlanta? I hope you're in Atlanta, but I'm glad you're back in the States from India, and welcome home, sweetheart. So anyway, I want us to get in and get a little quiet ourselves tonight, because I know so many people have been super stressed out. And I think that how you manage your stress, has a huge impact on your health. And so to just say, no, it's important. You staying well is part of your responsibility now. And you staying well benefits all the people in your periphery, all the people that you know and you interact with and you just breeze by and stuff. So the more wellness practices and self-care practices that you can do during this time, the better. It's always a wild thing to figure out self-care without self-absorption. And, everybody has to do it. Everybody has to do that dance. And it's a good one. It's a good one to do, to say you matter, your healing matters, but everybody around you matters just as much as you. So I want us to do some practice together. And if you have questions about it, let me know. And this is a breath practice that it's one of the anxiety-reducing breaths. The breath practices in yoga have different effects. Like there are heating breaths or cooling breaths. There's balancing breaths. And that is what we're going to do tonight, because the whole world is a little bit out of balance, and we got to try to right it a little bit. And if we can kind of right our own minds, then it ripples out. Just like our fear ripples out, our well-being ripples out and affects the people all around us. And we want to create an atmosphere of deep presence and deep calm. So this is a breath that is, it's named after one of the tantric goddesses. Her name is Bhuvaneshwari, which you don't need to know at all, but she's the goddess of space, or the embodiment of space. And I love all the different deities and goddesses. I think they're super cool. But please know that whatever faith tradition you follow or love, that I honor that as well. That the yogic tradition is inherently interfaith. It says you can be a Christian yogi, you can be a Buddhist yogi, you can be a Muslim yogi, you can be a Baptist or a Catholic or a Jewish yogi. That's all good with the yogis. It's non-denominational. But this particular form, also, if you don't believe in a sacred form or any kind of tradition, that's okay too. They just say, do you believe in love? Or do you believe in kindness? Then you put those words, right? So if I'm talking about the goddess that is the embodiment of space with the constellations adorning her like jewelry, you could say, well, for me, that's the Christ. Or you could say, for me, that's the light in a child's eyes when they're laughing. Or, you know, like I'm looking out right now at the sunset is spectacular. That could be the form that you can, the way that you connect to the sacred or to sacred reverence. And so you put your words, okay? So this is a mudra, which I know you've seen the different yoga mudras. This one is a mudra where you touch your fingertips and your thumb tips together, and you kind of make this space like you're holding a ball or a sphere of energy between your hands. And this is called the Bhuvaneshwari Mudra for my yoga geeks out there. And you'll hold that, and that comes from the Kalinatha yoga tradition, which was taught by my guru, my Jaya. You can hold that in front of your heart center, or down in front of your solar plexus, or even you can just rest your wrists, the sides of your wrists against your legs, however you're sitting. So you can just hold it wherever you like to. And then the breath has a pattern that alternates between nose and mouth breathing, which is one of the things that starts to calm down your mind and train you to breathe more deeply. Because when we're stressed, we tend to breathe up here. And when we're deeply content, we tend to breathe all the way down into our lungs. And that's what we're after. So you're going to bring your hands into this mudra, right? The Bhuvaneshwari Mudra. I want you to kind of elongate your spine and wiggle around a little bit for a minute. Get your seat really nice and comfortable so that you feel like you could sit in this space for a little bit, because we're going to do a breath and then we're going to do a meditation following that. Okay, so I want you to have a really comfortable seat. So get your wiggles out. Go ahead, wiggle around. Get your seat really nice and comfortable. Sit nice and tall if you can. And then get your hands into the Bhuvaneshwari Mudra. Okay? Now, you're going to have to watch me a couple times to do the breath, and then we'll close your eyes. Okay? So everybody exhale. And you're going to start out and inhale through your nose. And then almost like you're blowing out a candle, exhale through your mouth like... And blow till all the breath is out, so it's really long. And then keep your mouth like that and inhale through your mouth. And exhale through your nose. And continue. Inhale through your nose. Blowing, exhale. Inhale through your mouth. Exhale through your nose. Continue with me. Inhale through your nose. Exhale. Try to blow all the stress and anxiety and tension out of your body. Get all the breath out. And then keep your mouth like that. Inhale. And exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. You're going to close your eyes and exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your mouth. Expand like space, just big and expansive. Exhale through your nose. Continue inhaling through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And I want you to keep doing the breath. I'm going to start talking for a moment, but I want you to stay in that breath pattern. Inhaling nose, exhale mouth, exhale nose. Okay? So you're just going to keep that rhythm, that candle blowing, in and out rhythm, just like you were doing. But I want you to start to use the length of the breath a little bit more. Right, so it's a really deep breath in, all the breath you can take in at that moment without struggling. And that's actually an important part of this, to do the breath deeply, to do it thoroughly, but not to push it into the place where you force or really start to struggle against the breath. That's kind of counterproductive, right? So you want all the breath going out. And when you breathe out, I want you to really focus and imagine all your stress and anxiety going out. And this breathing pattern, kind of alternating back and forth, nose and then mouth, mouth and then nose, and these really big, kind of juicy, expansive breaths, it'll start to calm you down. There's a number of the breaths that we studied that affect the amygdala in your brain, and this is one of them. The Nadi Shodhana, the Anuloma Viloma breath does, this breath does, and then we've been doing this kind of super practice that maybe we'll do next week or something. I got to get you guys built up a little bit, but the super practice to switch you out of fight, flight, or freeze response, which I think a lot of people are in right now, and into rest and digest response. That's what this breath is designed to do. And continuing, right? I'm going to do a couple more with you. So it doesn't matter if we're off rhythm. You can stay at your own rhythm. Now you've been doing this breath for about 6 minutes, and I want us to stretch it just a couple more minutes longer, so you can actually say, oh, I just did, a 7-minute, a 10-minute breath practice. I've got this. I can totally do it, because you can totally do it. So stay with it a few moments longer. But now I want you to keep the deep breath. You should be kind of in a rhythm and a groove with how you're breathing. If at any time you feel overwhelmed by it or like you need to slow it down, you can stop and take a couple breaths. But if you can, just find your groove, find your rhythm, and stay with it. And I want you to start to think about spaciousness, because kind of on an energetic level, that's what this breath is designed to do, is to give you a feeling, an internal feeling of space and spaciousness, and feeling like you have enough space, feeling like you have enough time, feeling like you have enough, fill in the blank. I shouldn't say toilet paper, but I want to. Just feeling like you have enough, that you can relax into a sense of spaciousness within yourself. Because I think everyone right now is really contracted. It's a really contracted mind. Like the collective consciousness right now is super contracted. And so I think pushing against that a little bit, just with these simple breaths, and creating a sense of spaciousness for yourself. So let that be your intention just for the next few breaths. We're gonna end this breath practice in just a moment. So do a couple more with me. Just a couple more. I know it's a lot. Okay, for the last few breaths of this practice, I want you to see if you can out-breathe yourself. Just push it a teeny bit deeper. Don't get too carried away. No passing out. No making yourself, lift off or anything. But just expand it just a little bit. Just listen inside yourself and play with the ends of the breath. Play with the expansion of the in-breath and the expansion of the out breath. Even though it's a contract to get the breath out, just lean into that deep contraction until you feel it low in the belly, right? Kind of below the navel, this deep and powerful in that lower belly. So just a couple more breaths like this. Okay, ready for your last breath like this, at least for now? Take one more deep breath in wherever you are, either mouth or nose, doesn't matter. And hold the breath in for a moment. And imagine holding the breath or the energy of the breath just below the navel, about 2 inches below the navel. Just kind of hold it in that space, but hold it softly so you're not clenching tight to the breath. And this time I want you to imagine that from that lower abdomen, the energy of the breath rides up the spine and out through the top of the head, and exhale. Now, keeping your eyes closed, just let the breath go for a moment. Just let it return to a normal breath. You can keep your hands in the mudra, go to meditation mudra, no mudra at all, doesn't matter. Right? Just feel what you feel for a moment. And try not to judge any of it, whether you feel more peaceful or whether you can really touch into your anxiety. It's all okay. Try to be the witness instead of the judge. And just be present with yourself. Try to feel the moment that you're in and feel that you're okay in this moment. And that you don't really have to do anything more to be okay. But you do have to find that space inside yourself where you remember, oh, right in this moment, I'm safe, I'm in my home, I'm learning from this wild Swami person, and I'm just held in the embrace of the mother. I love to call God the mother. I love the divine feminine. But again, you put your words. You're held in that sacred embrace, and you're safe there. You're okay there. So breathe in that reality for a moment, and breathe it out again. Now I'm going to take advantage of this space that you're in, this kind of calmer space that you're in right now. And I want you to bring your awareness down to the base of your spine. And just a simple awareness of kind of a presence and a peace there. Almost a groundedness, like you're connected to the earth, whether you're sitting in a chair or on the floor, doesn't matter. Just feel this kind of grounded sacredness where you feel a sense of stability beneath you. You feel the presence of the earth underneath you. And you honor that in your own way, your own tradition, right? With your own breath. You just honor that deep and sacred presence of the Mother Earth. Okay? Now take a deep breath in, and you're going to use the energy of the breath, the prana of the breath. So I want you to breathe in and imagine energy moving in at the base of the spine. And you're just going to pull it up a couple inches into that lower abdomen, about 2 inches below the navel, and exhale as if that energy could move there. You're trying to direct energy with your mind, which of course you can. Okay, so even though the physical breath moves in and out through your lungs, do the energy of the breath in and out at the second chakra. We're going through the chakras just briefly. Okay? And that chakra kind of governs that sense of enoughness, of feeling like you have enough time, you have enough space, you can feel this open spaciousness there, right? You have enough food, you have enough. And I know people are really stretched around money and all kinds of things right now, but just try to be present in this moment and be okay with where you're sitting right now. Okay, just a few deep breaths, softening and opening. And then we're going to take a breath in as if that energy goes to the second chakra again. So low belly breath. Take a big deep breath in. And this time rise just above the navel into the solar plexus, that sun center of the body, and let the breath go out. And just keep the breath steady and deep. And this time I want you to move your belly a little bit in and out with the breath. So as you inhale, your belly pushes out, and I want you to exaggerate it a little. And as you exhale, your navel draws in towards your spine. And just do that belly breathing a few times, just kind of connecting to that solar plexus. The third chakra is center of power. And I think that sense of powerlessness is predominant right now. So just a few deep breaths, kind of clearing and reestablishing your sense of personal power. You have power over your response to this. You don't have power over this, but you have power. You have choice in how you respond to it. Okay, so everybody breathe out again. And then inhale as if that energy comes into the solar plexus. And this one is a little longer gap, a little longer space. You pull yourself up to the center of the chest, to the heart chakra. Hold the breath a little longer here, right? Just a little bit more. And then exhale, let the breath out as if you were opening your inner heart. And breathe in and out deeply for just a moment. And try to feel that lotus of your inner heart, or even just a softening in the center of your chest, where you allow yourself to drop back into an awareness that love is the most powerful substance in existence. It's one of the only things that the more you give it away, the more you have of it. Right? So be generous with your love right now. If you feel like you need more love, give more love. And all of a sudden, you feel more love. It's magical. Right? So take a few deep breaths in and out of your own inner heart. Right? A few inches over from the physical heart, in the center of your chest. Just in the words of the great Indian saint Ramana Maharshi, he would always say, just go a few inches over, and there you are in the heart within the heart, the very heart of your being. And that space in us always longs for us to be there. So just be there for a moment. Take a deep breath in at the heart chakra. And pull your awareness up to your throat. Hold the breath there for just a moment. And as if you were healing and opening your throat, just very slowly exhale. And listen to the sound of the breath traveling in and out at your throat for a moment. Almost like this soothing wind traveling through the throat. Right? Just let it heal your throat, just anointing all the words that you've ever spoken and helping you be more mindful of whether your words are contributing to fear and anxiety for yourself, kind of solidifying it for yourself, or for other people. Are you fanning the flames of fear with your words? Or can you come into a space of calmness and presence around your language? Kind of valuing and understanding the power behind language. And just breathing in and out there for a moment, saying, okay, I don't have to say everything. I caught myself the other day being really inflammatory around my language. I don't know, it's like, really? Okay, I'm just going to take a few deeper breaths here. And see if I can pull the inflammatory words out and just say it simply, just state the facts. Okay, so everybody exhale, focusing at your throat. We're going to go up 2 more chakras. So take a deep breath in at the throat. Come up just between the eyebrows into that third eye point, which is wisdom and intuition, which we desperately need right now. And imagine just clearing and opening that third eye point as you exhale. Inhale, bring it in at the third eye, and exhale, send it out at the third eye. And if that's an unfamiliar space to you, just ask to connect to your intuition and your wisdom. All of us have tremendous, tremendous wisdom. So try to remember that your wisdom has a different quality to it than your fear. Your wisdom mind feels different. It sounds different. There's a sense of spaciousness when you connect to your higher mind, to your wisdom mind. And there's a sense of contractedness when you connect to your fear mind. So it's one of the ways you can tell the difference. Do I feel relaxed and open and expansive? Do I feel contracted and anxious and tight? So just a few more breaths, kind of paying attention in the third eye. Asking for wisdom to come, asking for it in all of us. So not just in you, ask everybody to act from a place of wisdom, our leadership included, all good wisdom coming into us now. So take a deep breath in as if you were breathing in and touching into that third eye. And you're going to go from the center of the skull, you're going to go straight up and out the top of the head and exhale. Okay, then from there, inhale, just touching down at the top of the head where your baby soft spot used to be, and exhale back and up out of that spot. And just go up and down 1 or 2 more times, just touching into that space, right? Where when you go up over the head, a little bit you transcend the physical. You kind of allow the body to rest in its own sacredness, in the realm of form. And you touch into the formlessness. These are the teachings of transcendental meditation, where you start to transcend the body a little bit. Right, so just a few breaths up and down, just kind of touching into that vast spaciousness of the self. You're still in the self, but kind of the self beyond the body, the soul self, if you will. Right, just touching into that vastness and coming back down into form, coming into the formless, the openness, the sky of consciousness, and then touching back down into consciousness in the body. And just go up and down a few more times, a few more breaths, feeling expansive, feeling that sky of the mind beginning to clear, so that the thoughts can just go through them like clouds passing through the sky. And you can say, it's just a thought. I don't have to grab onto it and jump on the anxiety train. I can just let it go through and let it go past. And here I am, the witness, still breathing in and out, this deep awareness. Okay? So just 1 or 2 more breaths with this awareness. And just for a moment, go up over the head. Right, this is a space that Ma used to always call the Chit Akash. It's a teaching from Swami and from the classical yoga tradition, where it's where we just recognize we're okay, right? That love is our natural state of being, that we're born to understand ourselves as deep and loving and peaceful, and that we can draw from that space back into our body. So I want you to do that with me. Okay, so everybody exhale again. Take a deep breath in and imagine just drawing the expanse of the sky down through the top of your head and put it in the center of your chest so your heart feels filled with the sky. And exhale, put it in every part of your body, every cell, every bone, every droplet of blood. And do it again. Inhale down from above. Right? Take that essence into your inner heart until the cup of your heart feels full, and put it in your physical body as you exhale. Okay, inhale again, down from above, big, powerful breath, and this time hold the breath. Hold the breath. Hold that cup of the heart until it's full, full, full into the body. Exhale. And this time we're going to use your hands. You're going to come into your hands. You're going to inhale down from above. Hold the breath in your inner heart and turn the palms of your hands up. And imagine sending the breath, sending the prana or the energy of the breath down to fill the palms of your hands. Exhale. And we're going to do that a couple more times. So inhale deeply down from above, this heart source breath. So you connect to your sacred source. You take that sacredness into your heart. Exhale it down into your hands. Inhale again, down from above. Right, until the cup of your heart overflows and spills down your arms and floods into your hands. So your hands almost feel heavy with energy, with love, with light. Okay, just feeling all of that. And this is a practice I especially wanted us to do tonight because online tonight we have a number of caregivers, doctors, nurses, paramedics, firefighters, administrators at the CDC. We have so many people that are on the front lines, really, in the trenches or on the front lines, and I want you full so that you can stand as the eye of the storm, so that you can drink as you pour and not burn out while you're serving. Okay, you know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to Aparna, I'm talking to Maruti, I'm talking to my Dr. Noble, Dr. Corey Noble. I'm talking to all of you guys. And you know, sometimes you're serving behind the scenes, and I'm talking to all of you too. You know, all of us are being asked to stretch now. So just feel that weight of presence in your heart and in your hands. And just for a moment, ask to be connected to the form of sacredness that you believe in. Whatever that is, just connect and drink in that essence until your body starts to feel a little heavy with it, until you feel more and more full. Okay, take a big deep breath in. Hold the breath right at the center of the chest for a moment, expanding the heart's capacity to hold love. And this time, as slowly as you can exhale, just slowly let the breath go out. Now keep this stillness if you can. Stay very, very still right now, allowing the quietude of the inner self to take up more space. Allow your natural inner peace to take up more space. Allow yourself to be a little more spacious with your own compassion for yourself and for everybody else. You know, compassion is one of the deepest forms of love. So from that space, see if you can open your eyes like a tenth of the way open. You've seen images of the Buddha or of Shiva sitting in contemplation, those eyes, kind of sleepy eyes, just barely open. And do that in your own space so you can still be in the meditation or in the practice, but you can peek out into your own space and imagine putting this spaciousness out around you. Instead of jumping out into the world and the family and the room and all the things, just create a sacred space, not just in you, but all around you. And push it out a little bigger. So it's a few feet away from you. And bigger still, just this field of protection and peace all around you. No stress is getting in here. No anxiety is allowed. Right? You are not invited to the party, fear. Right? I'm just going to evict you from my inner space. Open and close your eyes a few times. And then inhale, reach your arms up over your head. Big, big stretch up. Exhale, bring your hands down, rub your hands together for just a moment till you get hot hands. Palms of your hands all activated and heavy with love and hot. And then put your hands over your eyes for just a moment. Open and close your eyes a few times. Just recalibrating your eyes so you can see with those eyes of spacious love, of generous love. Bring your hands to pranam, to a prayer pose. And relax your hands back down. Okay, hopefully you felt that over the line. You know, we're all learning how to do this from all our distant spaces. And we have a way where you guys are sending me in questions. I don't know if it works on all the different modalities that you're calling in on or watching from, but I do have a list of questions here, so I'm gonna take a deep breath and go through and address some of the questions, okay? So Julie Ansis had asked how to communicate the importance of social distancing to those who are not taking this seriously or buying into hoax theories. Suggestions for helping others. Okay, so, you know, I think modeling it is probably the most important thing. And being, you know, I think it's happened so quickly, right? This is all come down the pike for the U.S. relatively quickly. You know, we're trying to respond in a really mindful and proactive way, but it took us a second. And so, you know, it was less than a week ago, all of a sudden it was like, whoa, social distancing, it's a real thing, we got to get on board. And so I think it's taking people a minute to really digest and understand how important it is, how important this concept is, and in you know, it's the most scientifically proven to flatten the curve. You guys hopefully have all read about flattening the curve, and if you haven't, you should go look it up and understand it for yourself. And you know, one of the things I did with some people was send them a link to an article. Jadas, we have it. If anybody's interested in it, we can put it out or post it somewhere or something. But, you know, getting people more informed from a scientific point of view can be really helpful because, you know, it's super frustrating when people act from a place of not really willing to see the damage that you do when you expose yourself or other people and keep moving around. And so, you know, I think compassion is appropriate, but I also think being maybe a little bit intense about it with people. And then, you know, to really tell people what you think, to tell it to them with love and compassion and kindness, and then to step away from it and say, look, I said what I needed to say. I said it well. Now I got to practice some detachment and say they're going to do the best they can and they're going to do what they do. And, you know, that's kind of on them to just say, you know, I'm going to, but I do think communicating clearly and very well, backing it up with some articles and some science, and then, you know, keeping yourself safe, keeping your people safe, doing super safe practices. And then you got to kind of let go from that point. You got to say, okay, that's the best I can do. I'm talking to Lisa Vasaka too, because she asked the same question. I think suggestions for helping people that can't leave the house. Great question. You know, I want to do a shout out for a moment to our Kashi Atlanta Street Meals team. Thank you, because we figured out how to continue to make meals with just one person making the meal, with a separate person delivering meal on the street to the shelters, and then the person at the shelter they're going to distribute from there, so with as little contact as possible. And I'm thrilled about it. I have been so concerned about our homeless people during this because there are no throwaway people, and people tend to get so caught up in their own fears and anxieties that you forget to serve. So that's my shout out there. But I think paying attention and keeping in contact with people that can't leave their house. If one person has to go to the store, make sure it benefits a lot of people, so that one person goes to the store and gets exposed. And then, maybe you're the one that goes the next time. Be really smart. Maybe say, look, if one person in the neighborhood is shopping, shop for 6 people. And figure it out. Figure the money out. Figure all that stuff out. Just make it streamlined so that you can help them and video chat them. Make sure they feel included. Send people pictures. This weekend I said, come on, to Reverend Kim, one of my students. I said, I haven't seen baby pictures in way too long. They have brand new Evie, this little tiny baby. So now I can't see Evie because I'm not going to see baby. You know what I mean? I want the baby safe. And so to just say, okay, send pictures and, do that kind of stuff. Not quite the same, but pretty good for now. Okay, let me see if I can go back. Oh, Shankari's on the line. I love and adore you. Kashi Kids Art, which is our program which we go into the kids' hospitals, is going to collect art supplies to do art kits for the kids. So if anybody wants to donate art supplies, I'm assuming you could leave it on the doorstep of Kashi Atlanta and we'll figure it out from there. But we want to keep bringing art supplies in so the kids in the hospitals can keep doing stuff. So let's see. And thank you, Dharma Devi, for doing that. Lots of love shout outs. I love seeing you guys all online. Okay, from Sachimai, can you teach me about juggling mom mode, get it all done, keep a schedule, don't show the kids that I'm scared, and taking care of myself and my partner? Yeah, I mean, moms are the most amazing thing going, right? That you're keeping the kids, and now you're the school teacher, you're the babysitter, and you're the after school entertainment. But we talked about this some this weekend, and I really think it's important in this to engage the kids in deciding what they want to do with this time, in being super creative. Kids are a relentless font of creativity. And so tap into that and say, what do we as a family want to create with this time? We've been given this gift of special family time at home together. We're not going to go to soccer or violin. We're not going to go to school. You're going to do your schoolwork, but I want us as a family to consider, what do we want to create? Because I actually think that's one of the silver linings in this is more intentional time with your loved ones, with your family. And so, always in families, mommies are not allowed to burn out. And so, some communication with the kids about when you need space, and for them to, that you're not always their entertainment, that they have to do some of that on their own, and they can. Kids are super cool at creating things. So, yeah, you got to take care of yourself, and you got to not take it all on. You got to take care of your family, but you also, you got to be human in it. You got to be okay in it, just right where you're standing. Shanti Mai's online, and Ashwari, and Draupadi. Namaste, Draupadi. Shout out in love to Tough Love. And Jonica, I love that. Cool. Nietzsche and Becky from Gainesville are online. Love you guys. And Valinda from Virginia. Okay, everybody's just saying I miss you and I love you. Chase. On the list of immune-compromised, at-risk people. How can I stop feeling quite so silly and guilty for making the lives of those in my immediate circle especially more complicated and difficult with all the extra at-home sanitation steps and things? Okay. Sorry, but, okay, all my OCD people, you get to let your OCD flag fly. Not too much, but certainly just a little bit, that you do have to be super clean with stuff. You don't want it to move into paranoia. right? You don't want it to exacerbate your fear mind. Like all of a sudden you're putting hand sanitizer on, 30 times or something. You just want to be really mindful about it. Like at our ashram houses, we said, every time you walk into the ashram, hand sanitizer. Every time you've been outside and you walk in, that's the rule, right? Hand sanitizer when you come in from outside. So I think some rules like that are good. I think if you'll know, Chase, you'll know if you're slipping into a little bit of OCD, because I think everybody's going to get a little super crazy. But just being able to go, okay, this is on me. I got to take a deep breath and know that I'm safe and I'm okay, and I don't have to make it so. What I don't want is for you to make it so stressful that then it adds stress, because the stress is not good. Everybody's, that tendency to lean into being stressed about it all is so natural. And so we have to be mindful about countering some of that and saying, it's okay, it's okay that your immune system is compromised. That's where it's at. That's a reality. So you just breathe that in and breathe it out and say, this is where I'm standing. You got to be able to stand where you're standing in it and say, okay, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay in this moment. I'd like for other people to be more aware, and they're not. I can't always make that happen, but I'm just going to be present and cautious and kind when you want to knock people over the head with things because they're freaking you out. Oh, okay, Kevin. Wait, where'd it go? That was Belinda and Chase, and now onto Kevin. What is the mother saying to us? Have you seen the miracle she's working in the cleanest? Oops. Sorry. As soon as somebody else asks a question, these questions get bumped away. Okay. So Kevin, I kind of feel like that it's a time where consciousness is available to us in kind of an extraordinary way. There have been some things like all of a sudden the amount of pollution coming out of China is dramatically reduced. And I think that the earth, part of what you're talking about is the response of the earth right now. I think it's got to be a sigh of relief to the earth. I think that we're out of balance in the way that we treat the earth. We've got to be more awake around that. And that maybe that's part of this time, is to be able to slow down and say we need more presence in our lives. We need to not keep filling up every possible moment with busyness. And we need to take better care of each other and the planet. We have to get more awake around the planet, around changing the trajectory of things like global warming and plastics in the ocean and all those different things. They're very real, and we need to be more awake around it. So I think part of what, like you're asking in a very poetic way, what is the mother saying to us? And I think she's in some way saying, take care of me and take care of each other. So Kalyani and Abigail, thank you. Thank you. Can we do this daily, please? I don't know. Maybe it could happen. Maybe. I'm saying a good solid maybe. If it's helpful, please give me feedback. Let me know. If you bombard my Instagram or something like that, I'm open. I'm open because I also feel like for people who have done long-term practice, this is a time to serve, right? It's a time to say, how can I be of help and help alleviate people's fear and stress? And so, it's one of my big things. So can we do this daily? We'll see. What do you suggest as a way to connect with Ma when in the middle of the chaos? Oh, from Shaylite. Hi, Shaylite. Hi, sweetie. I think that all it really takes to connect with the mother, with that essence, whatever, you got to put your words in, right? With that essence of love and connection and compassion. I actually think all it takes is one breath and you're there. But then it takes practice to expand it beyond that one breath, right? So then it might take 3 breaths or 7 breaths or 10 breaths. It might take sitting on the cushion each day and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to practice so that when, part of why you meditate every day is so that your cup is full before you go out and serve or before you go out and do your work in the world. And I hate seeing people go out into the world burn out already. And it is one of my passions, in this last couple of years with the Fetzer Institute asking me to work with them and all these different things going on. And at Kashi Atlanta, we recently are in a contract with the city of Atlanta to teach the firefighters and the police and all these different people meditation and contemplative practice and yoga. I feel like, God, I love helping the people that help the people. It's like making sure that caregivers' cup is full so that you really can drink as you pour. We can't keep sending people out to do the work in the trenches if their cups are not full. And so that's where I go, you have to do the practices. You have to drink in the mother. You have to drink in the essence of love. You have to drink in the depth and the quiet of the universe so you can move out into the world from that space. And you can do it, and you can do it every day. You can do it because when you touch into the quiet of the universe, you recognize it because you are it. It's not separate from you. You just get lost from it in all the busyness. So once you start to drink in that quietude and you go, oh, this is me. It's more you than anything else you'll ever touch. And so you just go, oh, right, that's why I practice every day. Right? It's not that you don't have days when practice is really hard or boring or tedious, but you work through it so you can go, wait a second, meditation is supposed to be blissful. It's not supposed to be this struggle or this list making in my mind of all the things I do. Where is that bliss? How do I breathe my way into that deep inner quiet? And, what have I got to do to just start to maintain it? So we're going to be okay. I believe that with all my heart. And the more consciousness we can bring into this time, the more radical the transformation for the world can be. And, like we started out, we said sometimes you get fuel in your life. I always say use it as fuel, right? And sometimes we get rocket fuel. And we as a collective, we as humanity have been handed this form of rocket fuel. So I think let's figure out how to transform ourselves because your transformation matters in this. And then how to transform the world into a place of vast consciousness and connection and love. I'm honored to be online with all of you. I hope we will, I know we will do it again. I'm going to be teaching my Saturday morning yoga class online. I'll be doing this next Wednesday at 7:30. And I hope to get to know so many more of you and help wherever I can. So know that I'm here and that I love you. And now I have to figure out how to turn this off.